Vasishta continued, that which is annihilated by happiness or unhappiness in life is so annihilated. But that which is not annihilated is not annihilated. So what gets annihilated? And I think we might as well stick to the context here. Happiness is annihilated by unhappiness, and unhappiness is annihilated by happiness. You can't really be happy and unhappy at the same time. One annihilates the other. So basically, we're on a merry-go-round, or a misery-go-round, depending on your disposition. And we've got the option of stepping off, and this is spiritual practice. We've got the option of stepping off from the merry-go-round or the misery-go-round of happiness and unhappiness. Because we can step off into realization of that which is not annihilated. This is the essence of the scriptural teachings. One who has desires undergoes pleasant and unpleasant experiences. If one wishes to get rid of the disease of such experiences, the only thing to do is to get rid of the desires. And desires is really the theme of this chapter, and the next one, and the next one. In fact, it's the theme. Now, we must be careful about naive understanding of the spiritual practice and about getting rid of desires. Desires are always going to be present. The question is whether we engage with them or not. Perhaps there is some ultimate yogi who can sit cross-legged in supreme bliss. But we have to deal with the reality as it is right now. And the reality is that we can drop desire. It's not usually a once and for all thing though. We have to keep on dropping desire. You don't get rid of desire and that's it. You have to keep getting rid of it. Or you have to keep transcending it. So we need to be careful about the language here, that we don't get the wrong idea. So getting rid of desires means stepping aside from them. It means not being caught up in our fetishistic addictions. There is no delusion in the Supreme Self that the I and the world exist. This goes hand in hand with having desires, doesn't it? Because if you have desire, the underlying assumption is that there's a me here who wants something out there. But if you can step aside from this dichotomy, from this belief, we rest in what we find what can be called the Supreme Self, pure being, consciousness. This is the Supreme Self, which is supreme peace. Who has invented these expressions and superimposed them on the pure void, which is supreme peace? There is neither an I, nor the world, nor even Brahman. So when we talk about these things, we formulate ideas about them, but we're not interested in ideas, we're interested in the reality. And the reality that we can know right now is the reality of our own awareness, of our own attention, of our own being. All these are words. The only reality is the supreme peace. Since this is the all, there is no division in it, nor a doer, nor an experiencer. For the sake of instruction, definitions are coined. That is the only truth that the self and the self alone is. And the self is awareness. It's pure awareness. Everything else is a notion. These notions arise in awareness. Awareness identifies with these notions, and hey presto, we've got reality. or what we normally consider to be reality. But just as the dream experiences of two people sleeping side by side are not the same, and one does not know what the other is dreaming about, one's understanding and inner experience are personal and unique. We try and form a consensus reality, don't we? We do this through science, we do it through politics, through culture, but there's no getting away from it. Nobody experiences what I'm experiencing. Nobody experiences what you're experiencing. Our viewpoint is unique, just as our dreams are unique. The point here is that individual experience of reality is relative. It's transient. It's not supreme. It's not absolute. However, we can get to the absolute through it. Surely it is consciousness as the self that is aware of everything in the universe. Hence, I am that consciousness. I, the world, and all things in it are non-different from it. We don't reject anything. Awareness is awareness. No matter what awareness is aware of, it's still awareness. And what awareness is aware of is non-different from awareness itself. We must be careful when trying to put these teachings into practice that we don't form a notion of awareness and somehow separate that from everything else. Awareness includes everything. There's no discrimination going on here. Hence, I am that consciousness. I, the world, and all things in it are non-different from it. It is the one self that appears as the many. But because of ignorance and because of the extreme subtlety of the self, this is not seen as such. It is the self that sees this universe within itself, as if the universe had a form, though in fact it has no form. All distinctions like sentient, insentient, etc., though they are not real, are intended only for the instruction of seekers. So we actually experience the universe within ourselves, but we actually learn to regard the universe as something out there. That's what we're taught, that's what we learn through science and through education. We learn that the universe is something out there. And it's necessary to have that understanding and for practical purposes. But it's just a limited understanding. It's not the reality. It's not the reality of our experiencing. And we must always be making this distinction between the idea we've got about things and the reality as we know it directly. Science and education tell us that reality is other than how we experience it. And that's useful, again, that's useful for practical purposes. But for spiritual understanding, we must put that aside and come back to how we really know that things are. We come back to the direct experiencing.